Good morning, everyone. Let's start with this new recap for today, a daily briefing. Let's start for a moment from the Nasdaq yesterday evening. After the initial decline, there was an attempt to recover from the situation, but in short, there was no definitive spark that could lead to a more substantial recovery. We're basically below Friday's lows, so it's a week that started off on a downward trend. Already during the morning, there was a first plunge. So at the opening of the European session, a first plunge that brought the price on S to SD1 for the Nasdaq. In short, we are below all the BC3 levels apart from the one that formed this morning for the European opening, but we are under all the other BC3 levels that need to be monitored. Absolutely. This one seems the most interesting to me, 21, 4 and 45, 46. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. We also have two KSP levels a bit higher, So this is definitely the area to watch, which will act as a dividing line for either an attempt to recover or a continuation of the downturn. There are no relevant macro data except for consumer confidence. In the afternoon, in the early American morning, and in the Italian afternoon, so at 4 p.m. Italian time. So basically, the situation is that there's a bit of pressure, so it's bearish. So the movement is continuing. So we started looking at it a bit more zoomed out, the chart, all bearish waves. Let's see how low we go. So if we even go lower, it's all a situation to keep an eye on, especially in this area that I pointed out earlier, at least as far as the Nasdaq is concerned. Let's move on. I would monitor this area while waiting, for developments to see if we go up or down, where we return. In this area, we will obviously act within a range. We can make a similar point for S. It's more or less the same, although a bit stronger compared to the Nasdaq. Here too, we're below the BC3 levels. As we can see, we've tested SD1 perfectly. There was a beautiful bounce that, yes, it brought the price back above the HW level, which, is the key point of the day. And here too, the level to watch is RD1 for a possible attempt to recover these levels here. And so with a likely landing in the VIX area, if we were to surpass this zone with volume. So a good push, unlike here as well, here too. Unlike this, it's the same here too. Friday's lows are these, so we're working below. So this is the area to monitor exactly as. So for the Nasdaq, pay close attention to these levels because, they act as a dividing line. And so the wiki hate V, what we see here. So basically what is being done is a dividing line, or at least on S we'll see. Then the developments, they repeat, there are important macro data. So probably the day it will likely be along the same lines as yesterday. There will probably be an initial attempt to recover at the start of the session and then continue in this trend direction that has taken for a retracement after months and months of records upon records from the indices and futures. So we'll see. In a moment, we know which areas to monitor. Let's move on. Let's take a look to the Dow Jones and to the Russell situation. So it's similar, across the board. It's clear that we're still in the early stages of the day. We know that the American indices become more active, of course, at the opening of the American cash market situation. As for the Dow Jones, well, we see it's similar. So we're still below the BC3 levels here as well. We're working within, let's say, the range compared to maybe S and the Nasdaq. And so a partial recovery is being seen more with the Dow Jones We'll see if this recovery, this strength can then be confirmed. So at the opening, it's also true that on Friday, both S and the Dow Jones took quite a hit. So probably also due to a greater recovery. To a greater recovery precisely because of the more substantial decline that happened on Friday. The situation, I repeat, is similar. Well, we can see it. We're in a phase where the market is pulling back, highs and lows, they're all decreasing. The volumes are gradually increasing during the decline. So this is a further strengthening of all this movement that we're witnessing. Probably, as we said, at the beginning of the week, it could also be a portfolio adjustments due to changes in the macroeconomic scenarios, geopolitics, that the Trump administration is definitely bringing. And so operators are now looking for those assets that can guarantee certain performances beyond what they might be. Then the interventions at the level administrative. So pay close attention to these ranges that we've indicated. Let's also take a look at the Russell. It's definitely a similar situation. And, well, it has recovered a little more compared to the lows of yesterday. We are still within the BC3 levels, as we can see. In short, we are working above the HV level, exactly as the Dow Jones, which had indeed recovered the HV level. So we'll see, what the developments of this situation might be. As I was probably saying earlier, I expect a bit of a recovery initially. And then, well, from there, we need to see how this recovery unfolds. With what forces can we find it and what levels can we recover to then understand from there where it can go and how the market can move? Let's take a look at some commodities, the most important ones. Oil, after a nice drop as well. On Friday, oil took a nice hit, especially considering the peace agreements for the war in Ukraine, which will tend to lower the price of energy due to the large production component that Russia has if it were to return to full speed or in Western markets. So with the end of the embargo, surely the price of energy should theoretically decrease as a result of this. We'll see the developments. Let's take a little look here too. We're working on it. How do you see it? Among the BC3 levels, there was something last night. So a good recovery, even though, as we can see, it's a bit jagged as we technically define it. So that every spike, there's a pullback. There's a complete recovery of everything, and it's all going up before continuing to rise even more. So it's a situation to keep an eye on here as well. I would definitely consider keeping an eye on what corresponds to this BC3 and ARD1 level. So the breakout of this area could definitely lead to a recovery in the area, even up to 72 easily, which are then the upward X levels. Downward inshore, obviously, if this were to turn out, is like a dead cat bounce. And so, in short, a new test from above these levels. Here too, we need to monitor how much volume we reach, because probably then a nice influx of volume here would definitely give for a continuation downward then with a test of the day's lows and the VIX area that we see indicated here. As for the indices, the situation is more or less similar. Yesterday, there was a bit of a close on the offer, but as we have seen, for the Nasdaq and Standard Poor futures, there was a bit of a recovery. We'll see if the indices up will also try to recover at the opening. Obviously, everything will depend on how this morning unfolds. this European morning. We haven't taken a look at the DAX, but let's do that right away. So we can also have a look at Europe. Here it is. I haven't loaded the levels, but these are the ones you see colored. We are above, just below. We are also tested RD2 at the opening, then quickly recovering RD0. So here too, it's a situation to monitor. We are within these levels, marked by the KSP indicator. So we broke it first. You see how we broke it? We tested the level SD2. From here, the recovery started up to the HV level, which is this black line. In short, there's a bit of maintenance. And now we are working between the HV level, this KSP level, which was formed right here at the opening of the German market. So there's also an action to monitor here, even in Germany, you know. Well, here, after the election results on Sunday. In short, they're trying a bit of a recovery, but the situation is absolutely, I would say, alarming, in my opinion, regarding Europe for everything, you know. As we've already said, probably in the past few days, we can't add anything new except this. The perpetuation of decisions, in my opinion, you know, out of any logic. We'll see, in short, how things develop. We'll stop here. I hope that this appointment is pleasant for you. I invite you, as always, to follow me on Patreon, on Discord, on YouTube, and on X for further updates. And then, of course, we'll catch up in the chat with all the real-time updates. Thank you all for your attention and happy trading day to everyone.